Ichthus, making the complex understandable. Let's talk about site preferences. So we go to Tools and Site Preferences. Much like application preferences are preferences for the entire application, site preferences are unique to each site. So the first thing we see is one of the most powerful tools of the Symetrix Composer system is that we can configure all network audio in our office before we ever go to the job site, before we ever get in gear, and before we're ever right in front of the customer trying to take all this complicated gear and make it work right in front of them. So we can go to the question mark and it'll tell us a little more about it. But basically, it's telling us with this checked, we're handling it all in our office. With it unchecked, we're waiting till we get all the gear together and running and managing it with Dante Controller. And as you expect down here, password protection allows you to set a password for the file. Site version information gives you information. You can even give more description here. If you want to add notes, you've got a blank canvas here to add notes, just like you do on almost any block inside of Composer. Multiple site systems. This is a very powerful one and one to pay attention to if you are going to have more than one site file on the same local area network. We would want to give every single site its own unique identifier because if we have a control system, whether that's a Symetrix device controlling and using controller numbers, whether it's our hardware controllers like our W series remotes, our T5 touch panels, or if it's some third party control system. When we control an item, we use a control number, and remote control numbers are shared with all units on the network subnet that have the same site identifier. So you may fire a command to turn a level up in room one, but it's also doing something different in room two, and you wouldn't want that to happen. So we use a different site identifier to prevent interaction between multiple site files on a single network. This gives us the power to have multiple site files on the same network. It may be the same system. We may be passing audio from one to the other, but it allows us to completely adjust one room without affecting another room. Skip push no confirmation for this site file. It's a kind of a powerful thing to just get the confirmation out of the way. If you're going to send a file in, make a few adjustments, try something, send another file in, make a few adjustments, and you're just in the middle of doing that process of commissioning, you can just turn off that confirmation and then you can turn it back on where it will give you a confirmation. Then power on restoration. Hardware will restore last operating state unless these options are checked. When you initially install, the default is to have the second one checked, but we'll walk through them in order. If we check the first one, it will restore pushed network audio configuration. What this means is every time you push in a new file into the hardware from the software into the hardware actually memorizes and archives that entire file and every setting in that file. If you have this first one checked, what it will say is when you power up the system, it's going to go back to that archived file and restore everything about it. If you have just the second one checked, it's not going to reload the entire file. It's just going to reset all the parameters to where they were, like all your level controls and those kind of things. If you have the third one checked, it's going to recall a certain preset. Well, this is very powerful and allows us to say, reset that level control and that thing and this thing and this thing, but don't touch anything else on power up. So we can set up a power up preset. Great if the room is used by a bunch of different people and they're going to all have different preferences and different settings, and we just want to reset things to where they were. Most common is to uncheck all of them, and then the hardware will restore last operating state when it's powered up. So however it was sitting when it was powered down, it'll return right there. So those are some of the key site preferences to look at for each site file you create.